I'm so empowered hearing about other people doing hard things.
Right.
So other people doing hard things makes me think I can do my local hard things.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You are listening to Saints in the South.
All right, welcome everyone. This is season 2, episode 66. We are Saints in the South, representing saints everywhere, and we are your source for gospel growth and good times. Hey, whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on one of your favorite podcast platforms, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit any of those notification bells. Be sure to leave us a review and a rating, and you can also do that on our website, saintsinthesouth.com. So don't forget to check that out. This week, we are in sections 37 through 40, and the title of it is, If Ye Are Not One, Ye Are Not Mine. Today, we do not have Uncle Andrew with us to give us a little historical background review here, so I'm going to try my best to fulfill his shoes.
Do it.
So we are in the 8th month of the Restored Church of Jesus Christ. Lots of things happening. You've got a lot of the new members that are being called to serve missions, and they are being called to the West. You've also got the translation of the Bible going on, or the revisions and inspired the text there, and specifically they begin working on, I guess, the book of Moses, Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon, but they are instructed to stop that and to move to the Ohio. And I know we're big football fans in here, right?
Yep.
Does it pain you to say the Ohio?
The Ohio,
State
that's right.
I'm like,
is this,
I read that and I was like,
where they come from?
Yeah.
The Ohio.
Made me want to put on a sweater vest, but Trust's been gone for like 10 years. So.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. For all you Buckeye fans out there, the Ohio State.
I almost wore my Alabama hat today.
Yeah. So, So here we are. Sections 37 through 40, and we'll jump in and see how this revelation comes about. So,
I was going to say that they are translating part of the Bible. They're actually the book of Moses, like you said, and I think it's from the record of Enoch. I think is what they're doing, and of course the city of Enoch, all those things, how they lived in harmony, how the Lord took them up to himself or whatever, the city of Enoch, all that story and everything. It's very interesting to me that it coincides with, hey, I need my people to gather and to actually, this is all leading up to the time of the law consecration and the things that they tried, that really didn't work out too well. We'll talk about that another time. But it's very interesting that Joseph Smith was learning about the city of Enoch in such detail. And now the Lord is saying, okay, now I need you to stop. I need you to go preach the gospel, strengthen these people in this area. Everyone go here, go to the Ohio. And in essence, possibly, I'm sure in Joseph Smith's mind, he's thinking, okay, city of Enoch, let's see if we can do this, so it's very interesting that coincides with this.
I'm sorry, 38 verse 4.
Okay.
It says, I am the same which have taken the Zion of Enoch into mine own bosom. And verily I say, even as many as have believed in my name, for I am Christ. Anyway, it goes on there and stuff. So,
yeah.
Well, this is a pretty big deal, though. I mean, they're now being called to gather to a specific place.
Yeah, it's from April. Okay, I got a little history back. Picking up where Andrew would maybe come in. From April to October 1830, essentially all the membership of the church resided in New York, in the areas of Palmyra, Fayette, and Colesville. That changed when missionaries who were sent to preach to the American Indians on the western border of Missouri stopped in Kirtland, Ohio. The missionaries found that the Lord had prepared many people there to receive the message of the restored gospel. Over 100 individuals were converted within a few weeks. So this was a hotbed of ready, field white, all ready to harvest. It was ready to go there in Ohio. And that's why this became one of the became the gathering place. The Lord designated it. And it's interesting to see that the Lord doesn't just necessarily, he can do whatever he wants, but he doesn't just look at the map and go, let's go here. I mean, it's where the people are ready, where the faith is, where the, where they're looking to him, and that's where it was happening at the time. This was the place. And so that's where they went,
Right.
I love the reference they made to Phoebe Carter. If you read in the Voices of the Restoration section, I think if you think now, we travel all the time, we go places all the time. It's not a big deal. But for her, if you moved back then, pretty strong chance you weren't going to see your family again. And I thought it was so interesting how so much faith to do that. It's just more faith promoting that I think. I mean, we have FaceTime. You can FaceTime somebody any old time. But she knew that this is probably it for her family, that she was not going to see them again unless they joined the church. And just that's a very powerful faith that I don't think we comprehend fully.
Did it reference how old she was? Because I was reading that story as well, and I never picked up on how old she was.
I'm not sure either. She wasn't married or anything, right?
No.
So just assuming with the times back then, she was probably
mid-20s when she joined the church.
I was going to say probably younger. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's huge. I was impressed with that as well.
The letter was heartbreaking. The one that she wrote to her parents, and I was like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, it's like, and in my mind, I thought the same thing, Heidi. I was thinking, well, you're gonna see them. I mean, you're not far, but I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is 1800s. This was like you move away 30 miles, you'll never see those people again. It's so far, you know what I mean? And there's no technology. So yeah, it's that point though where I think faith almost becomes just fact, right? It just becomes absolute truth to you. And the faith takes a lot of faith to get to that point. But at this point, she just had such a firm knowledge, pretty much. It became knowledge to her that this is what I'm supposed to do. So I have to do this very difficult, hard thing. We're going to also learn about a man that could not do that in 39 and 40, but you have to get to that point somehow to be able to do those big things. It's just,
I think, consider the factors that were up against her. She's a woman in the 1830s and she's unmarried. She's living with her parents. I mean, that's roadblock after roadblock. And that society, if you were not married, you were basically a social pariah, considered not able to do a lot of things, which is a horrific way to live.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I'm embarrassed for our past, not on that one.
Right.
But I just think the faith she had, like, this is all on her. Who was going to support her?
Yeah.
That's a very powerful leap of faith to say, I'm going to leave. Like, women didn't go live alone back then.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
I just,
she really stepped out into the abyss in a way, just kind of, here we go. I know this is what I need to do. And she done it.
And we're still in the stages of where we're just a few hundred members of the church, right? I mean,
this was
whether it's 300 or 400, I don't know, but it's not a whole lot. And so reading about Phoebe leaving her parents, because I mean they were distraught. I mean, she didn't even have the strength to tell them goodbye. Right. She left in letters. Night. That's right.
Which I don't blame that. I don't like saying goodbye. Let's just cut this and go.
But I don't know, to be involved in such a new movement, it's hard for me. It's hard not to think about similar things that we've seen in our day. Again, I think of David Koresh. Right.
Yeah,
and that and what those people went through, and they were following him. But all of us on the outside are thinking, man, those people are nuts.
Yeah. They're crazy. Yeah.
So I don't know for a fact, but I can only assume that people like her parents, or people that weren't joining and following him, man, those people are nuts.
Yeah.
What are they doing? They're all gathering up. They're all moving to
I remember the whole David Koresh thing, seeing it on the news and things. And I remember I was sitting there and my dad was watching the news and we were sitting there together. And for those that don't know David Koresh, look it up. I mean, I'm not even going to get into it, but he wore glasses is all I'll say to preface what I'm about to say.
He wore glasses.
He wore
That's
glasses.
like the tip of the iceberg.
It's like, I mean, that's all I'm giving you. No, but he wore glasses and he claimed to be Jesus Christ. He that was one of his, obviously It's just outlandish to me. I was just like, even as a teenager, I was like, what's going on? This dude's crazy, But anyway, he wears glasses. And so he's talking to a reporter. My dad's watching and I'm sitting there. All of a sudden my dad goes, if he's Jesus Christ, why does he need glasses? And I was like, That's a good point. That's a great point. Anyway, that's a little side thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, people were really they were all in on that.
That's right.
Know?
I mean, it's a lot easier to join today because I mean we're 18 million strong or whatever it is, 17, 18.
Are there. Like we're clearly not doing weird stuff. We're normal people.
That's right. Exactly.
I know I have friends out there who, there's Heidi, the Mormon. Right. Even though that is not how we refer to ourselves. No.
Yeah. You're right.
I know I have friends that think one of these days she's going to wake up, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep being happily this person.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Doctrine Covenants 37, it's the first commandment concerning a literal gathering of the saints to a central location in this dispensation. This is the first time that this has been done. And so as those people, as they were sitting there, I mean, there's plenty here to go through. I wanted to make mention in 37 before I talk about 38 for a second. He said, the Lord says, behold, here is wisdom. Let every man choose for himself until I come. So the Lord says, I need you to go to Ohio, to the Ohio. and he says, this is wisdom. This is smart. This is good. And I'm sure many people were sitting there going, is it right? Like, really? I mean, because like we're talking about, this is today it's 100 times easier to do something like this. Let's just be honest, because it's still hard. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying, I mean, now you can jump in. I can go to Ohio today. I could be there today. I mean, you know what I mean? If I started now, I could probably be, this is early morning. I don't know how many people know that. And I don't know, it's like 16 hours or something to Ohio or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, but what I'm getting to is he's saying, this is wisdom. I need you to do that. Back then, people had to leave their farms. I mean, this was their livelihoods. This wasn't just like, I work for the Postal Service and I can get a job with the Postal Service in Ohio, so I'm good, or whatever. This was, I'm leaving everything and just basically going to be over here now. And I don't know, do I get land? Am I going to be able to eat? I don't know, and so this was a big deal, but the Lord's saying, this is wisdom. I need you all to just go. So the Lord, I love 38 because 38, the Lord starts out with probably his greatest intro ever. It's like, Jesus Christ intros a lot of these little, I call them intros. When he starts the revelations, he says, I'm the great I am, or all these things. And he does mention that in 38 also, but he just goes into it. He says, thus saith the Lord your God, even Jesus Christ, the great I am, Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the same which looked upon the wide expanse of eternity and all the seraphic host of heaven before the world was made, the same which knoweth all things, for all things are present before mine eyes. I am the same which spake, and the world was made, and all things came by me, etc., etc. He keeps going. And it's like, wow, he is really building this thing up like this. He's really putting out his resume here. This is great. Wow. This is some big stuff, but it's interesting that he does this. He does this because the saints at this point, the whole reason section 38 come about is because in 37, when he said, go to the Ohio, the congregation was pretty much, and this is an actual congregation, by the way, they're in a conference,
right? When
Joseph Smith receives this revelation in the conference, right? In front of the people. I mean, not saying that they saw anything. I'm just saying he gives this to them. And basically, here's this big intro by the Lord, talking about him. But this is so that because the saints need a deeper explanation, the Lord is letting them know that, hey, I need you to go, and I can tell you that you need to go and tell you that this is wisdom because this is my resume. Mm-hmm. I know everything. Right. I know the beginning from the end. I know exactly what you need to do. I know. And so he's really helping strengthen their faith at this time to give them part of his character, who he is and what he can do and what he is all about. Right. And so it's just interesting to me that he puts it all out there, right there. I'm the guy, the city of Enoch. Y'all have heard of this? It's like, I'm that guy that took them up, took them up and brought them to, where they are now, heaven or whatever. I don't,
But also in verse 4, right before he does all that, the last verse of 37 is, and let every man choose. Yes. He's still, he lives by that. He's like, nope, you still get to choose.
Absolutely.
Because I think he wants people that want it too.
Yes.
Like, you've been on a road trip with your kids. I'm taking my son to the beach on Thursday. He hates the beach. the only person besides my husband that hates the beach. And so I want him to want to go, but I'm already bracing myself for the battle of it's sensory overload for him. It's a lot of things for him, but the Lord I want my son to choose to want to do it too. Like, choose your attitude here.
Absolutely.
And so I think there's a big difference. When he talks a lot about the fear that comes with these things, what are we clinging to? Fear or dread? Because dread, I think of things that I dread.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Yeah. But I've moved enough at this point. I've moved a lot. Like, we've talked about it 8 or 9 times now. If the Lord said move next week, I would dread it. I don't want to do it, but I don't fear it anymore because it's been proven so many times to be the right thing for our family. Yeah. And I think I have to remind myself, like, it's what, April? We're coming up on the 1 year of my family's decision to move to Waycross. Yeah. And that was huge for us because did I ever fear it? No, I dreaded it. Yeah. Packing boxes. Yes. Transferring records and all that garbage, but the Lord has blessed us abundantly. So I think you have to choose what you're taking with you. Can you fear stuff and still be productive? Yes. Right. Is fear the best motivator? It can be. It can be. But it's not. But if once I chose to move, it was a different game. Like, I'm not going to dread this anymore. I'm probably going to dread it. I still have PTSD from our horrible movers. Yeah. They were the worst movers ever. But I don't fear once I've chosen what the Lord wants me to do. Yeah. Changes things. So I feel like Phoebe Carter, these people like have what choice? These people still have all the choice in the world to make things the experience they want.
Yeah. You reminded me of it's better to obey out of fear than not obey at all. But how much better is it to obey out of love or out of understanding? And but it's true. I love that, the dread and fear. I feel like that's going to be maybe a mini,
that's right. Yeah, there. That's right. Exactly. Really, I liked Emma's determination to go with Joseph. Joseph was pretty anxious to get going, and Emma was coming off a pretty battle with some heavy sickness, and then she was pregnant with twins. She said, "I'm going with you." So she's like, "Look, you're not leaving me, okay?"
Let's just go and stab. There were some strong women back then. Let me tell you something. I mean,
that reminds me of so I often will tell my wife, I'm like, "Look, you put the woe in man." Just kind of impressed with how.
Now you mean whoa, like stop?
No, I'm talking about whoa, man. Whoa. Oh,
that's okay. Right. Yeah. Whoa.
So I thought of that with Emma right here. I mean, she's putting the
whoa more like
man.
she was going to stop you from doing things most of the time because you're not doing it right.
For male and female, Fe is the chemical symbol for iron. Iron woman. I mean,
I like that.
See there?
So, I've never heard that, but that's good.
Disney, we're coming for you.
Some chemistry for y'all today.
That's right. Marvel. Taking you down.
That's right.
Or not chemical element. I'm sorry. Someone is going to email me.
Oh, man.
I already know it's you, Natalie. Shoot. It's you, Natalie.
She corrected herself.
Chemists in the South.
What else, y'all? So what are some of the things that jumped out in section 38 here?
Man, I mean, just they're moving. They are moving. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing. I listen to it over and over. I'm a better listener than reader on scriptures. But he has said, the Lord has said, I've made the earth rich, but it's still my footstool. And I kind of like, it's a really fantastic place, but my feet go on it.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of getting back to what Marcus was alluding to as well there.
Yeah. It's true.
Well, 38:27. Behold, this I have given unto you as a parable, and as even as I am, I say unto you, be one, and if ye are not one, ye are not mine. And if you look at verse 25, and again I say unto you, let every man esteem his brother as himself. Reminding, like, as you go be one, like, you're going to be in your family units. There's going to be people, though, that are going to need extra help. And if you have the attitude, they need to help themselves. I mean, sure, everyone needs to help themselves, but some people simply cannot.
That's right.
And it made me think, and not to get political, I promise I'm not, but it made me think a lot about the past year we've had it's been immensely spiritual. It's been immensely political, but I think kind of the catalyst once the pandemic was going, we had the death of George Floyd. And if you guys recall that weekend, how did most of the country feel? I think most of the country felt really united in, this is a sad thing. And that was really, most everyone I knew, everyone was united under this sadness.
Right.
And that's before Satan showed up and said, here are some more divisions. And Satan started drawing all these lines of how to perceive what actually happened. And I say everything with air quotes because whatever you think is what you think. But I think Satan sees opportunities. That was an opportunity for all of us to actually come together, because we were talking a lot about in the pandemic. We're all in this together. We were all kind of uniting and saying we love our brothers of any color or creed. And Satan shows up again and says, but what about this? And when I taught young women that, I always say, look for anything good, anything uniting, because guess who's going to show up? Our old pal, Satan.
Exactly.
That's exactly what has happened. And all of this, I mean, the Lord is saying any good thing, Satan's going to try and capitalize and draw a line on it.
Yeah, he is, you bring up a great point, because right from the very beginning, that's what he did. He broke up God's family. I mean, he took a third of his children away, and that's pretty much his just tear things apart, especially families, especially united, whatever it is, whether it's families or some kind of united consensus of, truth or whatever it is. He wants to just tear it all down, tear it apart. And he wants us to be selfish. He wants us to say someone's opinion is wrong. Right.
And we have our own experience, and we can have different experiences and still esteem our brother.
Exactly.
And he wants us to make that math not compute.
Master of destruction is what he is. That made me think, I'm just going to bring up a real quick. Do y'all remember who it was that gave the talk on the third commandment? That wasn't the title or anything, but he talked about the two great commandments, right? To love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and strength. And then the other one was to love thy neighbor as thyself. Yeah. And then he said, have you ever caught the third commandment in there? And that was to love yourself. Yeah. Which was really, really cool. Yeah. I've never thought about that before. But which is true. I mean, I think we've kind of touched on it before in here, but you've got to love yourself. You've got to
because how can you love your neighbor as yourself if you don't love yourself?
If you don't love yourself, that's right.
Treat yourself poorly, you're going to treat others
you're
poorly.
just going to treat others poorly. But it's true. There's three groups in there that it talks about loving. Yeah. The Lord.
Who was that speaker?
I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but it was it was good there. So
yeah.
Oh, and if you go to John 4:18, perfect love casteth out fear. And so everything that has happened in the past year, everything that's yet to happen, because we know 2020 is over, but it doesn't mean pain and problems are over. Yeah. And I think the Doctrine Covenants 38, that was given pre-Civil War, telling you to, all these things. Like, this is pre-Civil War. There was a lot of things on the horizon for early Americans, stuff that was going to tear the country apart. He's saying you got to be unified. And this is before the whole country is torn apart. So I think for us, we need to say what's on the horizon. There are still more things that are going to pull us apart as a church, as a country, as a world.
Think about the burden that, especially for us, we're not perfect, but the Lord knows all things from the beginning to the end. And here he is saying, I need you guys to go to Ohio. And he already knows what's happening in 2021. Pretty much. I mean, he kind of knows how things can go and what they'll be, and there's a whole nother lesson on that with agency, and that it doesn't make us or force us to do things to make things happen in the future. But anyway, Elder Bednar really taught something about that, because I've always wondered that, all things. The Lord knows us. He knows Heidi. He knows Jackson. He knows Marcus. He knows exactly what can happen, 5 years from now in my life or whatever, but that doesn't make it that has to happen, right? It doesn't force me to. He's not going to force me and make me go places that maybe I don't choose, because I still have my agency. We talked about that. And so Elder Bednar explained that, and it really helped me understand, because I always thought, how can you know this or that? I remember in the Old Testament when Moses went to Pharaoh, I think it's in Genesis, I can't remember, but anyway, he went to Pharaoh to say, hey, you need to free the Israelite, the slaves. And of course, Pharaoh, I mean, in the actual scripture, I wish I could go to it quickly, but long story short, it basically, the Lord tells Moses, go to him, ask him to release them. He's going to tell you no. That's pretty much what he says. But in my mind, I thought, wow, he's already, but still, he still tells Moses, go ask him no. give him the opportunity to use his agency.
Right.
He does let Moses know that he's going to say no. Basically, he's going to tell you no, but go, because he wants to give you that agency. Because, yeah, Pharaoh does have, he could say, sure, I'll release him. He could. He has that power to do that. It's his agency. But the Lord knows Pharaoh's heart, and he knew that he would say no. So Elder Bednar said this. He said, I can't remember how many children he has. I want to say he had like 3 sons. People could look at,
3 sons.
Is it 3 sons?
Confirmed.
So 3 sons. And he said that when he receives a phone call from one of his sons, he got a phone call from one of his sons or something one day. Him and his wife were in bed or whatever, and the son called, and his wife was talking to the son, and he could hear over the phone. And I guess the son had some concerns or was doing this or that, and they gave some advice and was talking to him. And so then when they hung up that phone, Elder Bednar and his wife were sitting there, and he said, I could 98% tell you what my son's decision was going to be, because I know my son. I know that he'll choose this or he'll do this. He said, but that doesn't mean that he has to do that, right? He still has his agency, but he said, I'm 98% sure I know what he's going to do. I already know which, and sure enough, it was and the reason is because he knew his son so well. So that's the reason that the Lord knows so much because he knows us so well. He pretty much knows how we're going to choose and where we're going to go, but it's not that he's making us do that. Right. You see what I'm saying?
Well, so, it's also practicing.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't make good decisions off the bat. We have to practice making good decisions.
Exactly. And so he knows our hearts, he knows our minds, he knows our what our likes, our dislikes, our things. And so he so that's the way. But I was just thinking, he knows all these things you're talking about, like you said in verse 30, where it says all these things, it says, but if you are prepared, you shall not fear. There are a lot of things coming up. The Civil War, you mentioned Civil War, you mentioned there's so many other things that are going to happen. The prophet hasn't even been at Liberty Jail yet. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of things going to happen. And yet, to me, it would be so frustrating to know exactly the things that can happen. And yet I'm still back here like going, okay, let's go over here. I know, honestly, we're going to be over here pretty soon, but let's go do this for now. And it'd be like, for me, I'd be sober. Like, oh, y'all don't even know what you're going through. But
it kind of goes, just a quick little experience to go off what you're talking about. Also knowing, Heidi mentioned, maybe last week, a couple weeks ago. Anyway, you're experiencing saying, Jesus doesn't know how I feel, and so forth. Right. And so we're out here working a couple of days ago and doing some things, chores around the house. And Chase is like any 10-year-old. He's dragging it out. He's making it as difficult or as slow as he can, so he don't have to come back and come do something else, Right. And so I ended up, kind of getting on to him and telling him, look, I've been 10 years old before. Okay. Right. I know exactly what you're doing. I know you're dragging this out on purpose. Yeah. Okay.
No one needs to go to the bathroom that many times.
That's right. Exactly. No one needs that much water.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So the Lord knows what we're going through, because he's been there and he's experienced everything. That's a great analogy. Atonement and everything and stuff. So anyway, Chase,
and each of your children, how Lily or how Chase or, any of them would do in a situation. That's right. You kind of know, because I know their personality, I know their attitudes, I know how they are. And, but like I say, yet it's still, they can still, and you can see the growth in them too, though. You can see how they start to change. And
I know which of my children would jump on that wagon and head to the Ohio. And I know which ones would be like, hold on a second, I got some stuff to do,
Right. Anyway, and you can see their potential. It's really easy for you to see their potential because, like you say, you've got hindsight now. That's so right. So the thing is with the Lord, he's got hindsight and foresight. He's got all of it, and so he knows us really well. And that's why it's, I think of Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lead not unto thine own understanding, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And that's just the gospel. In like one verse to me, it's like, that's what you got to do. I mean, know that the Lord knows what's best and he's not going to lead you astray. Put your trust in him and put one foot in front of the other, keep going, but just lean on him. Right. You know what I mean? I like the way it says lean on him and not let him carry you, because we make decisions, we make choices, and that's part of life and how we learn. But anyway,
the last couple of verses that I just want to point out in this section in 38, verse 37, where the Lord specifically mentions their concerns. He says, and that they have farms that cannot be sold, let them be left or rented as seemeth them good.
Could you imagine just leaving it?
I know all that hard
100
work
acres.
and everything. Yeah, just leave it.
I just got to go, man. I'm just going to leave it. And my thing is whoever comes in and like picks it up, or do they just see it and say, I know old John,
and possibly an answer to someone else's prayers, right?
I mean,
think of it like if someone is praying, like, I need this, and they walk into this plowed
it's always
farm,
happening,
right? There's always a ram in the thicket.
Yes,
maybe that was someone's
right.
ram
That's
in
true.
the thicket.
Yeah, very, very good.
I like that. So are we getting down to James Covel now?
Yeah.
So interesting to me that there's two sections on this one man that did pretty much nothing. I mean, and what I'm getting to is, as far as like in the church, it wasn't like he was a major figure in the church or anything, but here's two sections that the Lord says, I need you to keep in there.
He was around for about 30 days or so.
Well, there's something for us to learn here.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Obviously. So, which there is. I'm not saying that there's like, I don't know. There are some things in here, but it's just interesting to me that this is here. It's not like James Covel was the one that served the mission and this.
That's
and that.
right. Yeah.
There's nothing. He didn't do anything actually. So
it's even not even clear to me. I'm assuming he got baptized, but it's actually not even very clear that he actually did. That he went through with it.
To do it, and then next verse or section.
I don't know if he. Yeah,
right.
I the way that I understand it, and from some things I read, I don't think he was baptized. I think he decided he didn't become baptized, and he just went back. As a matter of fact, there's anyway. We'll get into it.
Just a little bit of background on James Covel. His father was a Methodist preacher and everything, and he ends up being a Methodist minister preacher for about 40 years. And so he was a strong Christian man, with a lot of faith and a lot of belief and everything. And he was actually pretty high up in the Methodist faith there. As at one point he was elected to the president of the New York sector or what have you, during a time and everything. So he's a pretty faithful individual there. So he covenanted with the Lord that he would obey any command the Lord would give to him through Joseph
right.
the prophet.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's going on. And so he's there. And so he says, okay, here's Joseph Smith giving him the revelation.
Yeah, here it is. You will. All right, here it is. Here.
And this is that thing again. The Lord knows James Covel. He knows his heart. He's a matter of fact, he mentions it. He throws it out there. He says, for thou hast rejected me many times because of pride and the cares of the world, in verse 9 of 39. So he tells James Covel, you've got a pride problem, basically. You've rejected me many times. But he does tell him in verse 8, he says, and verily I say unto thee, thine heart is now right before me at this time. So he's in good standing with the Lord right now, but he's just letting him know you do have a pride issue. You need to check that, make sure that's good. And so the Lord knows James Covel, but he's taken the time to give him a revelation, to tell him what he needs to do. He's basically just letting him know, become baptized, go preach the gospel, use your great skills as a minister to preach the gospel, and all these things. And so that's what he's telling him, become baptized and all these things. I don't know if you want to move to 40 now, because
I think in 40 it says James Covel was right before me, for he covenanted with me. So I believe he was baptized. I think
he may have
right there. But then verse 2, old pal Satan shows up.
Exactly.
Straightway Satan tempted him.
Yep.
And again, I love talking about Satan, but I love being able to look at my own life and identify, here's where I was James Covel and all these awesome options and opportunities. And I said, hey, Satan, I'll do what you do today.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us. Sorry, James Covel.
And the thing is, man, this is the next day. He receives the Revelation 39 on the 5th of January. Right. January 6th, James Covel is like,
out the door.
See you later. I'm not going to do it. And it's like, really?
And
it's
that says how good Satan is at his job, right? If you have a revelation from the Lord and you're like, okay. And then Satan shows up. I don't know what Satan offered in the interim, but was it just the fear of being the weirdo, being the member of the
new, 40 years as a minister, high standing, got all this, whatever.
Losing his house. He's going to lose his house.
He's going to lose his congregation.
Right?
He's going to lose his I think both of his sons. What did you say? Didn't you say his son or his father was a minister? I think his sons, two sons were ministers, like upstanding. And like I say, his sons were probably Joseph, no older than Joseph Smith. So if the ages are right, I don't know. I would say they're in
Satan
the 40s.
had a pretty solid offer.
Oh, he had it. I don't think it. I hate to talk about James Covel because he might be going to the celestial kingdom now. I don't know.
I'm going to come to. Go ahead, but I'm going to come to his defense here in just a second.
Well, I'm sort of going that way. I don't want to make light of what he did. He broke a covenant. That's not a good thing at all. But there was we don't know everybody's situation. Everybody's background is different. You can't just look at something for the surface, just be like, oh, James Covel's evil.
Right.
You can go into what you're going to say.
So again, the church has been around since April 6, 1830, right? We're now in January 1831.
Right.
He didn't come across the church until now.
Right.
It's the first time that he ended up going. He heard about the movement. He went and listened in on a conference. That was the conference where they received the revelation of moving to Ohio and everything. And so he started kind of, being intrigued about this. And he was always going to the East as far as doing his teaching and everything. And so now he feels the Spirit, and he's like, this is looking to be true, and he tries to exercise in faith. He says, you know what, I believe this is a real movement. I believe it's from God. You know what? I'm going to do what the prophet Joseph Smith tells me to do. And the prophet says, okay, James, I need you to head to Ohio with everybody else. And then all of a sudden he starts second guessing. Satan gets in there. And so again, he's just come across the church. All of a sudden he's being told to move. And he's like, hold on a second. This is like, you know what? Never mind. So I can understand kind of where he is and backtracking.
Sounds like y'all love your families a lot more than I do. Bye, family. Just kidding.
It's not like he's been a member of the church for 6 months. He wasn't one of the original.
Well, it's probably so 180 to what his life plan.
And actually, literally it is, because it says in the history he always goes to the east to do his. So
now it's like
now he's going to the west.
Yeah, you got to go to the west. You're going to do this. I need you to be baptized. The whole baptism thing, I'm sure could have been something.
I've already been baptized.
That could have come up. There was maybe his sons were near him at the time saying, hey, what are you doing? What have you taught us all these years, and you're going to 180 on us? This is crazy. All of a sudden you're saying do this. And then, we've been taught all our lives, and you're prominent in the Methodist community and the whatever. And there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on right now. And
I think this is one of those David Koresh moments where his family's like, look, dude, those people are crazy.
Right.
Looking at everybody's moving. They're leaving the farms and stuff.
This thing just started a few months ago.
That's right.
Man. How do you even know it's even going to last? Because they're not looking at it from the perspective of, this is the restored church of Jesus Christ at this point, as far as like his sons or whoever his family around him. They're just looking at it like, oh, here's another religion that's starting up. How do you even know it's even going to last? You've got Methodist, you got Baptist, you got Catholic, whatever, all these things. How do you know this Mormon thing is going to even take off, man? How are you going to go off and be a minister for them? I guess the question for us is, what are we going to do when the Lord gives us a 180? What I would call a 180 from our plans. It's very, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, big deal. The Lord tells me I'm going to do it. What are we talking about? It's like, obviously I want to be that way, but I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh yeah, it's going to be super easy. Yeah, sure. Let me go bulldoze my house I'm building because the Lord tells me to tear it down. It's like, yeah, man, I've got a lot in that right now. Really? Do I have to do that?
I don't know. I keep coming back to Gathering of Israel since we've talked about it for like weeks now. And then the talk that's linked by now President Nelson about the Gathering of Israel. I was listening to that again this morning. I've listened to that one a bunch. It's just so neat having come out of conference and the 20 temples and just how the Gathering of Israel is on both sides of the veil. So the more people are baptized, the more temples we get. And I thought it was so interesting. contrasting this with James Covel, who, we're not judging, but we've talked
Right.
about him a lot. I was thinking about in my ward in Atlanta, there was a young man named Jonathan Rodriguez, and he got baptized in 2018. He's one of those real special people. He went up to a girl at school who he went to high school with. He was like 16 and said, I want to know about your church. Like, he did the legwork, and he got baptized within a few months. He's now serving a mission in the Republic of Congo, Brazzaville mission.
Wow.
I follow him on Instagram. You guys should follow Jonathan Rodriguez. He's got
awesome.
videos of him in Africa doing all these things. And I thought about him as they announced 3 new temples in Africa at conference, and how I think we're up to 7 in Africa, and just how the gathering of Israel is so literal. I think sometimes we think it's go to church and strengthen your brethren. That's great.
Yeah.
It's literally happening. And seeing this person who is one of the scattered, who has been committed 100%, the difference between him and people that heard the truth and fell away. I don't know. I'm so empowered hearing about other people doing hard things.
Right.
So other people doing hard things makes me think I can do my local hard things.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I feel like I'm trying every day to be a missionary, but I'm definitely not knocking on your door saying, hi, come join my church.
Yeah,
I'm just not that girl.
Yeah,
but I try and live my life in a way that you see that I'm happy. Anyway, my point was just to mention Gathering of Israel is full of miracles. And as we have more temples in Africa, I just keep thinking the gospel's for everyone. It truly is for everyone, both sides of the veil.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Actually, in our mission, it's there's the Jacksonville mission. It's they've got a goal as I think 2 for 1, basically two converts here and 1 on the other side of the veil. So they're actually making that the temple work part of the goal of trying to help the members go and do the temple work and everything.
I remember that being a real eye opener for me when President Nelson said that on both sides of the veil, because it's one of them things where you're like, oh yeah, that's right. But when he said it, I was like, wow, I haven't really thought about it. Like I just sort of maybe in passing, obviously you do temple work and you're converting. I mean, you're not converting people. People are becoming converted on the other side also. Anyway, very interesting, very, very powerful stuff.
I will say that
the fruit so clearly. A temple is the fruit. Right?
Yeah, right.
So neat.
But Kenny usually brings these things around to the New Testament or to the Bible,
right? Yeah.
Which we talked a little bit about the Bible, but the New Testament. One thing that really came to my mind was the story of the young rich man. That when he approached Jesus Christ, he said, "I want to follow you. I want to be with you and do whatever you tell me to do." And so the Lord tells him, Jesus tells him, says, "Okay, give everything away to the poor that you have, all your everything." And come follow me. Let's go. And of course, the young rich man didn't at the time. We don't know what happened later.
Right.
I mean, he could have changed his mind. But anyway, that reminds me of James Covel a little bit. That was a lot to ask for James Covel. Obviously the Lord asked it, so it could be done, right? The Lord doesn't give any commandments that can't be done. But, as we go to that defense for James Covel, it was very difficult. That was just, we go back to that, but that reminded me of the young rich man that had to make that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the saying about a willing heart, strong mind or something?
Yeah.
I don't know, Jack. That one sounds weird.
Strong heart and a willing.
The spirit is willing,
but the flesh is weak.
There you go. Spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. Very good.
And I feel that every day.
Yeah.
And also you can compare Sidney Rigdon to James Covel. Both were ministers, prominent ministers,
right?
Had congregations. Sidney said, and we talked about it on the last podcast, so we don't have to really mention it, but Sidney said, "Hey, you ready?" He told his wife, remember, he said, "You ready to go back to poverty?" Right. I mean, basically we're going to give up our house, our home, our congregation, everything. And they did. Right. He went and chose that way. But James Covel just couldn't, so.
Well, very good. Well, as we get ready to close this out, I think that was James Covel gave in to the cares of the world.
Yeah.
And so I would say that we do our best not to give in to the cares of the world, as tempting as it can be sometimes. So, well, there you go. Episode 66 in the books. Until next time, y'all keep on striving.